friends, welcome to another edition of Cooking in the Kitchen with Kevin. Today we're going to be making a spaghetti squash broccoli lasagna, and we're actually going to make this recipe inside the shell of the spaghetti squash. You're going to love this, and it looks amazing. Not only does it look amazing, but it's very good. The ingredients you will need to make this recipe is 1 2.5 to 3 pound spaghetti squash, 4 teaspoons of extra virgin olive oil, 2 cups of broccoli chopped, 4 cloves of garlic, 1/4 teaspoon of crushed red pepper if you like red pepper, 2 tablespoons of water, 1 cup of shredded part-skim mozzarella cheese. You could also use dairy-free cheese in this recipe if you wanted to make it vegan. 1/4 cup of shredded parmesan, 3/4 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of ground pepper. Now that we have our ingredients, we're going to preheat our oven to 450 and make sure that we have our racks in position for us. When it comes to cooking the squash, there's actually 2 different ways you could do it. One way is you can actually bake it in the oven. You would set your oven to 400 degrees, cut the squash into halves, and put it on a bake tray or pan and cook it for about 40 to 50 minutes. Now the way I like to do it is to take the squash and actually use a knife and put a couple cuts in the skin on one side and then on the opposite side. Then put the squash in a microwave safe bowl. Now I'll cook it about 6 minutes on one side, and then I'll flip it over and cook it 6 minutes on the other side until the squash is nice and tender. Now with a large pan on medium heat, we'll take our oil and put that in our pan. Put all that in there. Then we will take our 2 cups of broccoli. Along with our garlic. Add our 2 tablespoons of water. And very carefully, we're going to get our squash, and now we're going to remove the seeds and mix the lasagna up so you can see the steam. So we are good. It's very soft, very tender. The ends will be steaming. The ends will be hard to cut, but try to keep the integrity of the boat as much as possible. There we go. Now we have our 2 halves fully cooked. And now we're going to take seeds out. Separate them into another bowl. So now we have our 2 halves that are ready to go. We've got them out. And then very easily, just take a fork and start pulling all the squash until it's just really the squash shell. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put all this into our red bowl here. And then we're gonna mix our garlic and our broccoli with the squash. Put everything together. So let's get this out. Now that we have all of the spaghetti squash out of the shells and into our bowl, we're going to take our mixture of the broccoli and garlic that we're cooking on the stove top, and we're going to mix that in with the spaghetti squash. Getting all that in there. We'll kind of stir that up, so now you're starting to see it coming together. And then we're gonna add our Italian seasoning. Start mixing that in. Gonna add our 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and then our 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And you're gonna mix all this together, mix it up nice and good. And then we'll add some of our cheese, and then we'll save some of our cheese to sprinkle on the top. I have the shells on a oven safe sheet because then we're going to put these in the oven and toast them up. It smells amazing. Can't wait for you guys to try it at home. I'm getting it mixed up good here. Like I said, then we'll add in some of the cheese because we still want to leave some for the sprinkle on the top of both. All right, I'm gonna mix that in there. That's even gonna start melting now. Get it nice, creamy, cheesy. Okay. Now that we have got this mixed up, we're going to divide our mixture up into our shells here. And filling these back up. So as we fill these back up, then once we're done filling them back up, that's when we'll sprinkle our cheese on top, and it'll be ready for the oven. But it looks good. You can see the yellow and green color coming together. The broccoli and the cheese in there. Get the rest of this in the mix here. Already nice and hot, so we can see that. Get all that in there. Looks good. Get that out. Now we're going to take the rest of the cheese and we're going to sprinkle it on top. Divide it in half between the two of them. And sprinkle it there. Okay. And then the other cheese as well. Just nicely sprinkling both on top. And now we are ready for the oven. I'm going to set my kitchen timer for 10 minutes, and we're going to bake this on the lower rack for 10 minutes, and then we're going to move it to the top rack for 2 minutes on broil. Gotta broil to high. And then you're gonna start a kitchen timer for 2 minutes. And we're gonna switch this from the bottom shelf to the top shelf and let that cheese get nice and brown. And that'll be about 2 minutes. There is our spaghetti squash broccoli in the shell. Lasagna. So now let's get one plated up. Now that we've given them a chance to cool down, we'll go ahead and get them on the plate. Look how good that looks. It's still gonna be hot there. And there you go. There is spaghetti squash lasagna with broccoli. Thanks friends for joining me on today's recipe of spaghetti squash lasagna with broccoli. How great does that look? Turned out beautiful. Can't wait to eat it. So thank you so much for watching, guys. On YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the Christy and Kevin Brown channel so that this way you can get a notification anytime we put out new videos. Thank you for joining me today, and I wish you well on your pursuit to health.